Hello and welcome to MacStories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees and I have Federico Vitici with me. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. Very energetic.
Very energetic for a person
Despite the fact that we are exhausted.
This is called squeezing the last bit of energy out of the week for me, right?
But especially you. Can you, let's just jump right into it because we left you.
Where we left off.
On last week's episode of Unwind with you, Mr. John Voorhees, saying that the weather forecasts for the snowstorm and the ice storm in the U.S. were all local TV hype, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That was the description. Nothing is going to happen. I am going to stay home and play video games or be at my computer. How did it go?
A little differently. First of all, you have to understand that.
Yes, I have to understand.
I don't live by myself. I don't make all the decisions in this household. I do have a wife whose opinions and thoughts I need to respect. And she wanted to go to Florida to visit her sister, partly because she just wanted to go to Florida, and partly because she was afraid that, and I think rightly so, that we would lose power. The snow in and of itself was not a problem. If it snows, I can stay home and watch movies and play video games. It's not a big deal. But the problem with this storm was it was supposed to be ice. It was supposed to be a lot of ice and be windy, which can pull down power lines. And if that had happened, the other piece of the puzzle was that since the storm, it has gotten extremely cold here, much colder than normal for this time of year in North Carolina. And these houses, they're just not built like they were when I lived in Chicago. It gets cold fast. And if we had no power, within 12 hours, it would be freezing in here, and it would have been difficult immediately to even live here. And, then you're like looking for a hotel, and they would probably fill up, and the hotel might not have power, all of that. So what we did is on Friday, as soon as we got the club newsletter out at about 1 p.m., we got in the car. I packed a bag very quickly. I got in the car, and we went down to Florida. And it normally is like a 6 to 6.5 hour trip, which is long, but not like horrible. But, oh my gosh, everybody was doing what we were doing. Yeah. Plus the truckers were trying to get off the road. So the highway was just insanity. We even ran into one spot where there was like a tanker truck that had burned to the point where they had closed down the highway and there was nothing left but the frame of this truck and its metal wheels. There was nothing left. What? I have no idea what happened to the trucker. I have no idea what happened, but it was the worst truck fire that I'd ever seen on the highway. That slowed us down by about 45 minutes at one point. And so we rolled into Florida at about 9 p.m., which, not super late, but on the other hand, I had been white-knuckle driving in heavy traffic for 8 solid hours after a long, busy week. And as a result, I was okay. I was tired, but okay on Saturday. But by Sunday, I woke up and I was like, nope. I had a massive headache and I was sick. So I got over it very quickly. I just wore myself right into the ground and I got a bit of a cold, maybe a little congested still, but for the most part, so I spent the whole time in Florida, not going to the beach. I spent the time in Florida. Saturday, I did some things. Sunday, I was in bed. Monday, I was mostly in bed and trying to catch up on my work at my sister-in-law's house. And Tuesday, we got up super early and drove all the way back so that I could get back here in time for the afternoon. So it's what can I say? It's been quite a week.
I'm sorry.
But, and I had one of those things where it was like timing. When do I leave Florida? Because the other thing we should talk about briefly is we relaunched the club as part of MacStories.net. And I obviously didn't want to be sitting in the passenger seat of a car when that was happening. As it was, Jennifer drove most of the way home back to North Carolina while I sat in the passenger seat tethered to my iPhone so that I could do some work and get some of the final preparations done, talking to you and our developer along the way. But yeah, we did that, and it's gone pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it's gone pretty well, and it's been obviously people will just see that we just launched a thing this week, but it was the result of months of work, both in terms of modernizing the MacStories technical foundation last summer. If you recall, we did a lot of work behind the scenes to bring MacStories, which runs on WordPress, up to speed in terms of code and dependencies and all of that.
Right.
And all of that was necessary because we knew that we wanted to unify things. That's going to be a recurring theme for everything that we're going to launch this year. The unification of all the things we do, because I think over the years, if you just follow John and me for what we write at MacStories, or maybe you listen to the show, you may have realized that over the years we've started doing so many things, right? We have MacStories, we have the club, we have multiple tiers of the club. So sometimes we write in the newsletter, other times we write for members who pay more. We have the podcasts, we have the video versions of the shows, and so we do many things.
Yeah.
And over the years, all those things had grown fragmented, providing this fractured experience across different places. And so our goal was to bring everything together under MacStories, because that's the website that people go to. That's the website that people know. We are lucky to have the MacStories homepage and MacStories as a destination. And so now, if you're a club member, quite simply, instead of having to go to a separate website, you just go to MacStories and you log in and you get access to your perks and to your newsletters, to your extra columns, to your downloads and your discounts and whatever. And we have started doing the same for the podcasts. You will notice that App Stories and App Stories Plus are now part of the podcast directory on MacStories. That work there is not finished. We need to simplify a few things still, and we need to bring the other shows into this new native format in the podcast directory.
Right.
But you will see over the course of the next few weeks and months and throughout 2026, that'll be the sort of our guiding principle to unify everything under MacStories, make it simple for people to follow us, to subscribe if they want more, and to discover the shows and to find the shows, and to just have a unified and consistent, because the inconsistency of it all has been killing me for the past few years.
Yeah.
To have a consistent and simple experience for everybody, whether you don't want to pay us anything, or you want to pay us something, or you want to pay more.
Right,
So, yeah.
right. And I think the way I look at it, and I think maybe people who are listening to this who maybe haven't been following MacStories for, a decade plus,
Yeah.
is that when the newsletter started, that was kind of a revolutionary thing. I mean, it was not that, today everybody seems to have a newsletter and many of them are paid. And in 2015, that was unusual. And it was an experiment at the time. And as a result, it was kind of off to the side. And that then grew and grew and grew with the relaunch in 2021 of the club and so forth. But it was always to the side. And that was in part because we needed to first really dig into the foundations of MacStories.net and modernize it and make it work for that kind of thing. So that was like the club and the newsletter. And then with the podcast too, App Stories was very much an experiment when you and I started it in 2017. And now it's, it's coexists with all these other things, and they're all important and they're all kind of at the same level, but they weren't treated that way because they didn't start that way. But now everything's going to kind of be co-equal on the website.
Yeah. And obviously this work is only going to continue. And the idea behind this unification and using WordPress, using an established, very popular foundation that is extensible, that is well documented, means that we can now ship at a much, much faster rate. In fact, as we're recording this, you will see that, we're recording this on the day after the launch. And already today, we are going to add some fixes and some features because that's what this new foundation allows us to do. It's not, we can build faster, we can ship faster, and we can have a more consistent look for everything. And yeah, so, on the surface, nothing. It just looks like MacStories with the club integration and with the podcast integration. And that's supposed to be like that because obviously we needed to have a foundation first. And obviously there's going to be at some point a new visual experience. That's obviously the long term, not so long term at this point, but that's the ultimate goal, right? To refresh everything because, technically speaking, it still looks like the website from 2013, but the bones of it all are completely new.
Yeah, they really are. You can think of this as like a three-phase thing, which is what I've been thinking about, which is last summer, it was all about the underlying tech and making sure everything was shipshape and modern and up to date. And then it's today with this launch that we did yesterday, it's bringing it all together even though it may not look a lot different yet. And then the next phase will be new features, a new look, all that kind of thing. And we're going to do that, as Federico said, in a phased way. We're not going to just, drop everything all at once on people. We're going to continue to improve and add features and do things along the way. So you'll see stuff throughout the coming months.
There will be a new design at some point. There will be a day when MacStories will look different.
That will be the biggest day, because that will be the most visually different thing. But we have other little smaller features that I think we will get out in the meantime, because things don't have to wait, because now we have the foundation just to finish them, get them out, and do them incrementally, without having to wait for everything to be done all at once.
Yeah. But we are not going to start naming versions of the website like some developers do. 2026.1.29.
No.
We're old school like that.
People are still doing that, aren't they?
Yes. Unfortunately.
I know. What a trend.
If I wanted to look at a calendar, I would look at a calendar. Jeez. Anyway. John, I have a pick for you.
All right. What's that?
We started watching a TV show and we're obsessed with it.
Oh.
So this is on Disney Plus for me. I guess it's also on Hulu in the United States. It's called
It's all one thing in the US too now.
Okay. It's always confusing. Like Disney, Hulu, and Stars are like the same thing, and I never understood why. Anyway, it's called High Potential. And it stars Caitlin Olsen. You may know her from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where she plays Deandra. And Daniel Sunjata. I was racking my brain, like, where did I see this guy? And I googled the actor, and turns out he was in the first The Devil Wears Prada. Did you know that they're making a second The Devil Wears Prada?
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that. No.
Yeah, with Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway. It's coming out this year. We cannot wait.
Oh, that's a great movie, the original one.
Yeah. Anyway, so the premise of this TV show, there are 2 seasons out right now, and I have not Googled whether there's a third one for fear of spoilers. So right now we have two seasons on Disney to watch. So it's a police procedural, okay? Kind of like your CSI, or what's the other popular one? NCIS. Like
right.
It's a classic police procedural with a twist. The twist being that Caitlin Olsen plays Morgan Guillory. She's a cleaning lady at the police station. However, she's a high potential individual. It's actually called High Potential because I think it's based on a French book or a French series called HPI, High Potential Individual. This cleaning lady, she has a really high IQ of like 160 plus. And her brain just works in a different way. She has photographic memory. She can spot connections between elements and patterns, and she just sees the world differently. And one day, while she's cleaning the police station, she accidentally bumps into a file for a case, and she just scatters all these documents and these pictures on the floor. And she looks at them, and there's always these sequences in the show where like her photographic memory kicks in, and it's like these quick frames of like different crime scene photos in succession, and her sort of like connecting the dots. And she looks at the board that the detectives were working on, and she rearranges the victim and the murderer of that case. And the next morning, when the actual detectives go in and they see the motherboard rearranged, they're like, who did it? And so they check the security footage and they see that it was the cleaning lady. And so they call in the cleaning lady for questioning, and they try to scare her off. But actually the lieutenant understands that there's something special about her. And so long story short, she gets hired as a consultant for the LAPD. And that's the gist of it all. So far, we've seen 5 or 6 episodes of season 1. I can tell that there is going to be an underlying story of Morgan searching for her husband that disappeared 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But obviously, each episode is standalone because it's a police procedural. So each episode, new case. But you can tell that they're sort of dropping the seeds for an overarching theme later on, and it's very enjoyable because it. Silvia said as we were watching that, like, this TV show makes you feel stupid sometimes, and that is true because you're basically watching this high potential individual, really intelligent person being able to piece together hints and patterns. And what's fascinating about it is that there's always a comedic aspect, underlying everything, because she's obviously Katie Nelson. She's really funny. But what I appreciate about the show is that they put all of the details in front of your eyes. You just never piece them together.
Okay.
Later, when they do the sequences of Morgan piecing together the clues and the patterns and the items and the details, you're like, yes, that was in the scene before. You just didn't pay attention to it. And so that's why it's really funny. It's kind of like, imagine if I were to describe it. Imagine if Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory was a police consultant and was like this highly gifted individual being able to spot patterns in crime scenes or cases or files. Really fascinating, funny, gruesome TV show sometimes, because you're obviously each episode opens with a murder of some kind or a kidnapping of some kind, but it's very enjoyable and
that's good.
Recommend it. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I'm only laughing because I have this tendency of walking into the room while Jennifer's watching one of these kind of shows, and I'm like, "What are you watching?"
Yeah,
there's all these gruesome scenes.
Oddly comforting sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, she loves
Law and Order. That's the other one, the really popular one.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to keep my recommendation really short because I don't want to give too much away. But I've really been enjoying Hijacked, the Idris Elba,
the one
show.
On the train.
Yeah, on Apple TV. Now, you may recall in season 1 he was on an airplane that got hijacked, and the whole show takes place over 24 hours while he's dealing with the hijackers. And there's also things going on with the hijackers' associates, on the ground in England and so forth. And you might think to yourself, as I know Federico did, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
Season 2, and he's on a hijacked train.
Oh, of course.
It's not what you think it is. It's not what you think of it.
Next season is going to be on a hijacked boat.
Probably. But look, it's not exactly what you think it is. And what I really appreciate about this season is that we're only a few episodes in, and the first 2 were incredibly confusing because you realize that there's something more going on than kind of happened in the first season, but you don't know what it is because it opens with the train conductor, and these are like light rail trains in Berlin. And it opens with the train conductor acting very strange. And you can't tell if he's a hijacker. Is he been compromised by some terrorists? What's going on with him? And Idris Elba isn't there initially, and his wife is in a little cabin in the woods in, I think, France. And you're like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And eventually, Elba shows up in the train station, and he gets on a train, and everything kind of starts spiraling from there, and it becomes a hijacking. And I don't want to explain more than that, but they do a really nice job of kind of cutting between what's going, very much like they did in the first scene, where they go from cutting out from the dynamics of the passengers and the train conductor and Idris Elba all on the train to the police and the military, and MI5 turns up all on the outside trying to figure what's going on in this train, what are the motives, what's happening, and this is one where, a lot of times Apple will drop 2 episodes and then do 1 a week after that. They only dropped 1 initially, and we've just been dying because we watched the first one, and it's hard to wait the whole week because it's been so much fun watching this. So I highly recommend it. It's out on Apple TV. I'm not sure how many total episodes there are going to be, but there are about 3 so far. And they're about an hour each. Might be a good place to jump in, or maybe wait a week or 2 if you want to kind of get through it more quickly. But really enjoy it.
Brendon dropped in.
Hey, you know what we got here? This is a very special guest appearance on MacStories Unwind by none other than Brendon Bigley. Brendon, have you watched a good movie or TV show recently that you like?
Yeah, I just finished Culinary Class Wars on Netflix, which is like hands down the best cooking competition show ever produced by anybody.
Oh, nice.
No question. It's 100 chefs from Korea all competing against each other at the same time. 80 of them are like up and coming chefs, and 20 of them are the best chefs in Korea. And they're all competing against each other simultaneously. It's a giant set. It's the biggest set I've ever seen built for anything like this. And it's an extremely good television program. So I guess we're not recording NPC now, huh?
No, this is Unwind. But hey, you know what? Unwind for
beautiful
2 minutes. Yeah.
Brendon is such a professional that, he just on the spot.
He was good to go. It was like he's ready for action at all times.
I just came off a live stream. I was just streaming on Twitch, and then I jumped right in here afterwards. So I'm on. I just drank a whole green tea. I'm like, good, baby.
All right. Very good.
He didn't even ask a single question. He was like, yes, I do have a recommendation.
He's like, what's going on? Yeah, behind the scenes, we often will record Unwind right before NPC. And
this is a person you can trust. Didn't ask a single question, just went for it. Thank you, Brendon.
I'm standing at attention, friends.
Well, John, with this very special ending to this week's episode of Unwind, I think we can wrap it up and record NPC with Brendon, in fact.
Yeah, I think we can. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Brendon Bigley, he's over at Wavelengths Online, .online, if you want to go check out his website and his videos on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Federico and I are over at MacStories.net, and, check us all out, all three of us, on social media. Just search for our names and you'll find us there. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.